Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blue Wave. We have a great article here from Politico about the state of the 2024 Republican primary. And I think it really proves a lot of what I've been saying in the past about not only Ron DeSantis, but Donald Trump's stranglehold over the Republican voter base, and really that the race has never been that competitive at all. And hasn't really been a significant threat posed to Trump, despite some polling that's come out recently that may or may not have said otherwise about Trump's support and the chances of the other candidates as well. So let's get right into the article here. It's from Politico, like I said, and it says Trump's become a runaway train in the GOP primary. Here's why. A Politico analysis shows Trump supporters are more conservative and more assured in their candidate than voters backing other Republican candidates. They're more conservatives than other Republicans, more likely to be men, less likely to have graduated from college. And they're more confident they've made up their minds, even though the first primary or caucus is still 4 months away. That's the coalition former President Donald Trump has assembled in asserting his dominance over the Republican presidential primary. Examining the voters assembled behind Trump and the minority who are backing other candidates is essential to understanding how he came to dominate the fight for the GOP nomination. It also underscores the uphill climb Trump supporters have to unseating the former president as a leader of the Republican Party he's reshaped in his own image. Call it a pre-mortem autopsy for the primary, which feels close to being over despite Trump's well-documented judicial headaches. What was once an emerging two-man race between Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis instead now looks like a runaway train. Two major national polls this week showed Trump at or above 60% among Republican primary voters, a commanding lead far greater than earlier in the year, when Trump's average share of support was in the low to mid 40s. So, wow, a couple of things here. So, like I said, there's been a few polls here and there that have come out that showed maybe there is some appetite for somebody else other than Trump, and maybe voters are ready to move on. And I've always kind of said, no, I don't think so, because the way that the party has evolved and what it's evolved into doesn't really leave room for much opposition to Trump in any major way, because the voter base has become so diluted and so far detached from really just reality in general that they are totally not willing to entertain anybody other than Trump, because Trump is the guy taking the dagger, the way that they see it, for them. And anybody that stands in Trump's way is basically against their whole ideology and their whole movement and how they see the world. Anybody that goes against Trump, even in the slightest way, will be cast out into oblivion by the movement. I mean, it's really remarkable how fast the hive mind moves against anybody that has any sort of alternative view. Again, I mean, look what happened with the whole Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney thing. So Trump is the leader of this type of voter, and this type of voter makes up a huge part of the Republican base. Now, there is still some out there that do want something else other than Trump, but they're totally outnumbered and they're fractured and they're not consolidated behind one candidate. And to get to Ron DeSantis here, you know, poor old Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. You know, the guy, hats off to him, because he overachieved in his life to become the governor of Florida in the first place. And every now and then there's candidates that pop up and they have some political success in one way or another in a different part of the government or a different part of Washington, D.C. And their eyes get real big, and they think that there may be a little bit more savvy, and they kind of get a big head, and they think a little bit too highly of themselves. And I think that that's what we've seen with Ron DeSantis. He's somebody whose his ego is just totally exploded, okay, after becoming the governor of Florida. And he's somebody who got his ambitions got the best of him, and they bit him in the butt. And instead of his legacy being remembered as being this hard-nosed governor in Florida who was able to win in Florida when the rest of the Republicans didn't do as well as they were supposed to do in the 2022 midterms, and turning Miami-Dade County red, and having Florida be the blueprint for how conservative America should be, yada, yada, yada. That could have been his legacy. Instead, his ambitions got too big, and he is now going to be remembered as the guy that everybody who has any angst about Trump running again or doesn't want him to run, he was their guy. And there was all this money spent on him and all this media attention spent on him, and it's going to be looked back as why did anybody ever think that Ron DeSantis had any chance of winning the presidency? I mean, it was obvious from the get-go that the guy is not ready for the primetime lights. Like my guy David Pacman has said multiple times. David Pacman has said Ron DeSantis is just not ready for the primetime lights. And we saw it materialize in the first debate where he got the show stolen from him, by Vivek Ramaswamy and others, as I talked about in my past video. And so it's also materializing here now on September 16th, in that we have articles coming out, such as this one we were just looking at, that say Trump is winning with a 60% margin now. He's gone up from the mid 40s. Okay, 60%. It's over for Ron DeSantis. I am not. I might do it right now. I might declare Ron DeSantis's campaign over. Ladies and gentlemen, it's done. It's done. I have no problem saying that it's over, that there's no hope for Ron DeSantis. Okay, I'm not going to say it's over for any other candidate other than good old Ron DeSantis, but his whole approach to his campaign just has not really worked out. And I don't think we're going to be spending as much time on this channel, honestly, really talking about him as we have, because it's just not really worth it to expose him, because he's exposed himself and he's made a fool of his campaign, and it just hasn't worked out for him for a lot of reasons, as I've talked about in the past. Let's look a little bit more at this article here. Just a bit. So it says, in order to get a full profile of the voters who are with Trump and those who aren't, I use additional data provided by Quinnipiac University from a poll the school released this week showing Trump with a 50-point lead over DeSantis. 62% to 12%. The analyst combines all respondents who chose another candidate rather than looking at DeSantis supporters. Okay. Even though DeSantis and Ramaswamy, the second and third place candidates in the poll, are mostly running to Trump's right, the former president's supporters are consistently more conservative than the voters who back other candidates. I'm not even sure that Ramaswamy and DeSantis are necessarily running to Trump's right. I mean, on what exactly? Maybe Ramaswamy on maybe certain immigration points, but they're all in this peas in the same pod. Anything else here? It says, okay, I'll read this one last little bit here is interesting. It says in the Quinnipiac poll, 46% of the Republican-leaning independent voters who said they support Trump in the primary identified as very conservative. Among the voters who chose other candidates, only 22% were very conservative. That means Trump voters are more than twice as likely as other candidate supporters to self-describe as very conservative. Trump supporters are very conservative, are very caught up in their conservative ideology. That's obvious by now. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys in this one. I think that this illuminates what I've been saying in the past, and DeSantis is out of time and his campaign is over. It really is. Unless something miraculous happens, it's not impossible. Okay. It's not impossible for something miraculous to happen, but it's, for all intents and purposes, it's over for Ron. But that's all I got for you guys in this one. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. Let me know what you think about the political article, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right. Peace.